10 rounds. 3 minutes. 2 movies? Battle Remake.
Welcome to Battle Remake. My name is Buzz Mead.
I'm Eric Little.
Today we're talking Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Does whatever Spider can.
Yep.
Now, you've talked about this before, but you're not a big superhero guy. And you weren't growing up at all.
No, I really am not. And I don't know why. It's not that I didn't have the toys or didn't watch a lot of the stuff. I mean, I watched Saturday morning cartoons growing up. I mean, I was into the Ninja Turtles growing up. I watched that.
Yeah,
you know,
that's a superhero kind of.
Yeah, but not in the traditional comic book way. That's
true.
You know, where Marvel and DC and all those guys have their heroes and stuff like that. I just never gravitated toward that. Mm-hmm. I mean, and even today, I watch the movies sometimes. I mean, but I'm not the kind of audience that as soon as one of these come out, I'm automatically there to see it. Mm-hmm. And it's, for instance, I had never seen 2002 Spider-Man until now. It's just I didn't have a pressing urge to see it. I mean, it's one of those films that if I was, maybe over at someone's house and it came on and that's what we were going to do, well, looks like we're watching Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But it wasn't anything that made me gravitate to, the theater and go see it.
I think that's interesting though, because you're not bringing any kind of past with you or like any kind of preconceived notions. I mean, it's like I read the comics as a kid, so
I'm kind of a blank slate.
Goblin. Yeah, exactly.
When it comes to watching these films,
and you're more partial or you're more impartial as far as the stories and the characters. So that's kind of cool. I mean, but I grew up with the comics and the cartoons and stuff like that, and it was interesting. I didn't, but as far as like Spider-Man, he's kind of a hard one to get into, like for me, just because I feel like there are some core things of the character, and the more you get away from that, the less it becomes like Spider-Man for me. Like at his core, he is a photographer. He works for the Daily Bugle, and he has a problem with like J. Jameson, who doesn't like Spider-Man at all and is always trying to smear him and stuff like that. And like he lost his Uncle Ben, and he stays with his Aunt May. There's some core things there.
And I feel like we've talked about this a lot too recently. The idea of how in some of these remakes and multiple adaptations, there are some rules that you have to abide by.
Yeah. Almost
no matter what, or else the character is unrecognizable.
I think so.
And it's not just a costume.
Yeah.
There are some character traits that have to still be there. And I think that's going to weigh very much into today's discussion.
I think so. Let's get to it.
Round 1.
Let's talk the story. So 2002 is very faithful to the comic books. It goes all the way from his transformation to being bitten by a radioactive spider, to being bullied at school, to having his Aunt May and his Uncle Ben at home, to liking the Mary Jane character like from afar. It takes him all the way up to being Spider-Man and encountering his first villain, which is, I guess, be the Green Goblin.
Yes.
Yeah, Green Goblin. The 2012 version is interesting to me because it has a lot of the same elements, but they're different, and it's almost like a bizarre like universe, like to where like things such as it's just like a little bit off, kind of a little bit. Is he a photographer in the remake?
Very loosely.
Very loosely, yeah.
He doesn't work for paper.
He doesn't work for the paper.
He takes pictures a couple times at the beginning.
Yep.
He's asked by an attractive young lady in the hallway of the high school to take pictures of her boyfriend's car.
Right, yeah.
And, he's got a reputation as a photographer.
Right.
And
he's more into science. He's more into building stuff.
Right. But there's the aren't there rewards for for pictures of this guy? And doesn't he set up the flash bulbs? Even in the 2012 version, I think he does it once or twice.
You're right.
But I don't believe that's ever explained.
Yeah, it's never explained.
Or he ever does anything with those photos. Like, I could see the 2012 character, and we'll get into the character later,
right.
But I could see that character wanting to profit off of his own exploits.
Yeah.
That fits the character very well, but we're never explained as to... There's no scene where he tries to sell pictures of himself.
Yeah.
It's weird.
The 2012 one is more obsessed with finding out like what happened to his parents.
Yeah,
and it turns out that his dad was a scientist and he worked with the Kurt Connors character, and they were developing some kind of a gene, a gene fixing thing, like to where like if you lost an arm, like you're able to grow it back.
Yeah. Genetic engineering. Even eugenics in a way. Yeah. You know, trying to make people more perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So he's focused with that. They choose to go with the Gwen Stacy character. So if I think Spider-Man is one of the few characters who has two like notable loves. Like if you ask people like who he loves, it'd be Mary Jane or Gwen Stacy, because that like at different parts of his life he's been with both, or with either or with both. Sometimes at the same time. You could also say that Archie is a similar character like that. I'm a nerd. All right. If you have to pick between 2002 and 2012, which story was more to your liking?
I'm going to go 2002 because it was simple, direct, and to the point. Get in, get out, and tell your story.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know if it's a more interesting story than 2012, but I feel like it's a more complete story than 2012, and it makes sense for the most part.
Yeah.
We can talk about the ending later, but for the most part, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And you've also got the character of James Franco in the original,
right.
His friend who kind of stabs him in the back and does a douchey thing by dating his girl, knowing he's been obsessed with a girl, and he just asks her out rather than has a talk with his buddy about it.
Right.
Like, can you imagine, like, even if you were interested in your good buddy's friend, asking this girl out without consulting him first? Like, if you knew this guy was just obsessed with this girl for his whole life, I don't think that there's anybody that my friends have been interested in where I wouldn't first consult with my friend before, that aside. That's a tangent. It's a much more direct story. Like you said, we see the origins of how he got these senses and what he did with them. I like how Tobey Maguire's character is depicted as figuring it out, as opposed to Andrew Garfield's character. Mm-hmm. By figuring it out, I mean realizing the extent of what he does. He's bitten by a mutant spider, has these powers. What can he do with them? What can't he do with them?
Yeah.
And I feel like we see that depicted better. It's not that it's not depicted with Andrew Garfield. I think it's just better done with Tobey Maguire.
Yeah.
They're two very different Spider-Men, and we can go about that later on.
Okay.
But I prefer the depiction in 2012 as compared to 2014. Or 2002 is compared to 2012.
Okay.
Years are all over the place.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I'm going to go original.
Okay.
It's just a more straight, direct story, in and out. And if you're a layman when it comes to comic books, I think that's the story you're going to enjoy a little bit better.
For sure. Yeah. And I will agree with you on this one. I think 2012 just it overly complicates things, and it really doesn't have to. I don't think, and it starts by making him some kind of a MacGyver scientist, and that's never really been in his history, and I don't understand like why they had to introduce that. I guess because they're trying to, maybe cement it like more like in reality or something like that. But then you start trying to understand like why he, or like how he came up with all this stuff. If nobody else had come up with it, like why is he the person? Kind of.
Yeah.
And I think that was a problem for me. I think the love story is a really big problem. They don't say anything in the 2012. I was waiting to see if they said anything, and I'll have to find the clip for you, but they literally say nothing. They say, "Hey, how you doing? Hey, okay. Well, I was thinking, like, do you want to go? Yeah, okay."
Well, she's got no reason in 2012 to be interested in him at all.
Yeah.
Because she sees him do a cool thing in the hallway where he takes up for a bully.
Right.
Or he takes up for somebody's getting bullied.
Right.
He gets a snot beat out of him. And so he's on her radar.
Right.
And then he shows up at this company where she happens to be like the lead intern and does something that could have got her fired.
Right.
So somehow she's not mad at him over that, and she still basically asks him to dinner at her house.
Yeah.
Which to me, that's a leap.
Yeah.
I mean, Go for coffee. Go for a movie.
Yeah, something.
Rather than, like, here, meet my whole family.
Yeah.
My 4 brothers and my cop dad. Like, really? That's a lot to ask of somebody.
That sounds like a sitcom.
My four brothers and a cop dad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
That would be the exact title.
Let's write it.
Yeah, let's do it, Buzz.
Cool.
But yeah, I had a lot of problems with that relationship in particular.
Yeah.
Because it seemed to make not a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. Well, and the other problem that I had is that I
mean, once they got together, they were. I liked their chemistry once they got together.
Yeah.
But it made no sense to me why they got together.
Yeah. Well, it's like that was their focus, and then the Aunt May character is just kind of pushed to the side until the very end, and then they bring it. And it's like, well, you just forgot about her the whole film, so I don't understand why.
Yeah. I hate the fact they cast Sally Field for that and then forgot about her.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Round 2.
Which director do you like better, Sam Raimi or Mark Webb, who ought to have extra credit because his last name is Webb?
I know. I'm going to go with Raimi, though. I like the fact that the tone is the same throughout the whole movie. And it feels like a comic book. In many ways, it's probably like one of the early ones that got it right. Probably just as far as like staying with the tone. And it was largely taken from the the stories are pretty much the comic book stories. I got a kick out of the Macho Man being the wrestler that he fights in that thing. That was great to see.
Yeah.
We're just talking about the 2012 one. I don't like how the tone is all over the place. I don't like how the Aunt May character is forgotten, and then they go back to it like when it's convenient for them to, try to pull on that heartstring or whatever. And then I don't like how they focus on that love story that really didn't. It's like you said, like it doesn't have anything. I mean, there's no reason for her to like him.
Like, once they got together, there was emotional weight behind that.
Yeah.
But
how did they get together? I mean, it was third grade stuff.
There's a point.
I think the deepest thing that he ever said to her was, "I like kissing you."
Yeah.
I said that in like 3rd or 4th grade.
I liked her reactions when he was seeming to be hurt. And she was genuinely concerned for him. I think that's terrific acting on Emma Stone's part.
Yeah.
And I buy that. But like I said, there's also a moment where you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
And it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I think it's because Andrew Garfield's character plays the Spider-Man card really early with her.
Yeah.
And I think that's what pays dividends.
Yeah.
She's like, oh my goodness. And she's like, I am the only one that knows the secret. And yeah. I don't know if there's any long-term future in that relationship, but anyway.
Well, she dies in the comics. So.
Well, but that's. But
then she comes back, though.
But that's what he does.
Yeah.
If you want a short answer to why that happens, he plays the Spider-Man card.
Yeah.
So, speaking of Spider-Man.
Oh,
I just wrote it down.
Okay.
I'm going to go original. Sam Raimi.
Cool.
Yeah. Same reasons.
Okay. Round 3, the character of Peter Parker. In the original, he's played by Tobey Maguire. In the remake, he's played by Andrew Garfield. Which did you prefer?
These are two vastly different characters because the Tobey Maguire version is bookish and dopey. Mm-hmm. If you wrote him the correct line, I don't think he could give it 9 times out of 10. Not Tobey Maguire, Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Which is why Tobey Maguire is perfect to play this role.
Okay.
Because he's just so dopey and honestly, adorably dopey in a way, but still, you could see him rising up to be the superhero type. Andrew Garfield has a more superhero look about him, but boy, is he arrogant. Just such arrogance. And I don't know that I like my Peter Parker to be that arrogant.
Yeah.
And these are two very different characters. Like, where Maguire's kind of picked on, the nerd.
Yeah.
Comes from kind of a tough background because his parents aren't in the picture, but we don't really know why. Garfield is kind of, his parents aren't in the picture, but he seems like they come from some means.
Right.
And we're not led to believe that about the Tobey Maguire character.
Right.
But he's just got this confidence that borders on cockiness and overconfidence.
Yeah.
And, why should that guy get picked on?
Right.
That doesn't, that's not believable to me.
Sure.
He's a very good-looking guy, so why wouldn't he be one of the more popular people in his class? Because he's a good-looking guy, and that's kind of how high school works. So, I don't know. I don't buy some of those elements of that Peter Parker.
Okay.
I think he takes a beating more than Tobey Maguire. He's more of an action hero type than Tobey Maguire. But I think Tobey Maguire's intentions are a little bit more noble.
Okay.
If you would. I don't know. I'm going to go original.
Okay.
Original.
I'm going to go remake on this one. I think historically, the Spider-Man character is a little bit cocky. And he's overly sarcastic. He'll fight the Green Goblin and the Lizard, and he'll throw like one-liners at them.
But out of the mask, I'm fine with that in costume. Because I'm fine with the idea of someone becoming a different person once they put the mask on.
Yeah.
But then here's Andrew Garfield being a sarcastic SOB.
I think it'd be hard to separate the two.
It
because
would.
when I'm in my superhero costume, I'm still sarcastic.
It would, but I like the idea though of that guy. And I'm not trying to sway you on this.
No.
But I like the idea of him gaining that confidence.
Yeah.
Through the alter ego.
Yeah, and I think it's.
Is it a tired trope? Maybe, but I can see that. Where he's just a normal guy, but he loses himself just a little bit, and not in a bad way.
Yeah. And I think to me he has to have that confidence as a character because otherwise I don't buy him having that transformation because then where does it come from? You know what I mean?
It's there, but it's just we don't necessarily see it at first.
Yeah.
Andrew Garfield's character is cocky before he even becomes Spider-Man.
Maybe.
Whereas Maguire, he's picked on. And
yeah.
He does.
I don't know. I didn't get the charisma out of Maguire that I needed. I think
no. I'll give you that.
And I think Garfield has that in excess. He has that charisma.
Spades.
Yeah, spades. Exactly. There you go. So I have to go remake on that. So let's go round 4.
Round 4.
Is this you or me? You.
That's me. Which Aunt May do you like better, Rosemary Harris or Sally Field?
Good question. With a heavy heart, have to go original. I don't think they gave Sally Field anything to do, and it's weird because they spend the time like going through. I mean, they introduce the Uncle Ben, they do the death, they do all that stuff, and then they just leave her, and he's too busy. He's too focused on Gwen. He's too busy on Spider-Man. He doesn't really communicate with her, and at the very end, somehow they come back together.
Yeah,
and it's never really explained. I'm not sure the original one is that great. But it's more like a vote against like what they did with Sally Field. So I have to go original.
Original.
You swayed me on this one. I was going to go Sally Field because I like Sally Field.
Sally Field.
Right. But boy, they didn't give her a lot to do. You're
didn't.
right. I'm going to go original here too for the same reason. It's not that I like that character better. I really like what Sally Field did when she was in it.
Yeah.
But why would you cast Sally Field in this role and then do as little as you did with her?
Yeah.
I mean, because we don't see Sally Field in a ton nowadays.
Yeah.
And, so she had to be, when she got this part, I'm going to be in Spider-Man.
Right.
And then it's kind of a letdown.
Yeah.
I think she could have been one of the strongest parts of the film.
For sure. Yeah.
And I didn't really care for Rosemary Harris's depiction of Aunt May.
Yeah.
I think they made her out to be a little too old. I think that was a little miscast.
Right.
But
well, like now she's like Marissa Tomei. She can't be that old. Marissa Tomei is not that old, is she?
Probably late 40s.
Yeah, I was going to say that's probably like that's the youngest Aunt May they've probably ever gone with. So.
But you could make that work though.
Yeah.
That's definitely the right age range of somebody that could have been pressed into duty raising a kid, and
Yeah.
But no, Rosemary Harris is like, I've fallen, I can't get up. So
yeah.
But like you said, I agree.
That's an old joke for our young viewers.
Yeah.
All right. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back with more Battle Remake.
That's not what I'm here for.
General Slocum, good to see you again.
Mr. Balkan, Mr. Vargas.
Norman.
Vargas.
Osborn.
Always a pleasure to have our board of directors pay us a little visit.
I want to see the progress
Quit with the bullshit.
human performance enhancers.
We tried vapor inhalation with rodent subjects. They showed an 800% increase in strength.
800%, that's excellent.
Any side effects?
In one trial, yes. It was an aberration. All the tests since then have been successful.
And in the trial that went wrong, what happened? What were the side effects?
He ate his face.
Violence, aggression, and insanity.
And what do you recommend?
That was only one test. With the exception of Dr. Strom, our entire staff certifies the product ready for human testing.
Dr. Strom?
We need to take the whole line back to formula.
Back to formula? Dr.
I'll kill you
Osborn,
later.
I'm going to be frank with you. I never supported your program.
Looks like you're Slocum.
Predecessor to thank for that.
Norman, the General gave the go-ahead to Quest Aerospace to build a prototype of their exoskeleton design. They test in 2 weeks.
And if your so-called performance enhancers have not had a successful human trial by that date, I'm going to pull your funding. I'm going to give it to them. Gentlemen, ladies.
Dun dun dun. That was William Dafoe as Norman Osborn in a scene from the original Spider-Man in 2002 for round 5. Which villain did you prefer?
Round 5.
You know, that's why he's a perfect villain, because he's not the friend. He's Dafoe.
Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? There it is.
It's got to be one of my better bad puns.
Do you prefer William Dafoe, or that's a good, actually, yeah, I didn't think of that one. Or Reese Ifans? Is that how you say that?
Close enough.
Rice Ifans as Dr. Kurt Connors. He was in God, is he in About a Boy? Or Love Action? No, what is he in?
I'll look it up here.
I think
in
it's
a second.
About a Boy, I think.
I'm not going to pick him if that matters, but
well, don't spoil it for the viewer. Jeez.
Dr. Connors.
Which one did you prefer?
Willem Dafoe.
Okay.
Original.
He just has that look about him of somebody that's up to no good. That's
right.
And I think he does a better job to portray the inner conflict that the villain faces in becoming the Green Goblin and what he's doing to people and what he's doing to himself than I see out of Reese Ifans. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go with that pronunciation, but okay. I just like seeing that depicted out of Willem Dafoe better.
Okay, I'm going to disagree with you, and I'm going to go Reese Ifans because I feel like it was more of a complete character. I have this thing where I don't like it when villains are fighting themselves.
Yeah,
and like the good part of them is like counter to the bad part, but it's like they talk to the mirror and then they talk to themselves.
It's a little soap opera like.
It's very soap opera,
honestly.
and it's really easy to do. I feel like, and at least I felt like the Kurt Connors. I feel like that character, at least he came from a good place, and then he got kind of off his track, and then he came back to the good place a little bit at the very end. But I feel like it was a more complete character. Yeah, I don't know.
Reese Ifans is in Notting Hill.
Notting Hill, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah. Harry Potter, and he's also a recurring character in the CBS series The Elementary, or not The Elementary, just Elementary.
Just Elementary, yeah. Okay, cool. Let's go round 6.
Round 6.
This ought to be an interesting one. Which Uncle Ben do you like better, Cliff Robertson from the original or Martin Sheen from the remake? By the way, what did you go for the last one? I didn't write that.
I went with remake.
We disagreed. There we go.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You know what? I like... This is tough for me because I don't know if I like Martin Sheen better because he's Martin Sheen. Because I feel like the original had more heavier things to say, but I feel like Martin Sheen said whatever he said better. Do you know? That's a weird thing to do. But I'm probably going to go with Sheen just because I think his performance was better.
I agree with you 100%.
Remake.
And it's not a knock on Cliff Robertson. I just felt like it was almost like I was watching Charlton Heston light because he had a very Charlton Heston look about him.
Yeah.
And he was trying to be kind of, regal's not the right word, but, bold and affirmative and strong.
Yeah.
And I just like Martin Sheen, the way he delivered every line better than the way Cliff Robertson delivered his lines.
He's a better actor, say?
Maybe, yeah, to be honest.
Well, he's Martin Sheen, too.
I mean, they both did a fine job to play this doddering uncle that, kind of messes with this, messes with that. And, this is a man of the... Just a man that works with his hands and, that doesn't have the intelligence maybe of Peter Parker's parents.
Right.
But it's a good man and... became a good father figure in some way for this guy that he may not have a real intellectual connection with. Yeah. But, Peter Parker's able to draw a lot of wisdom from Uncle Ben.
So, historically, the death of Uncle Ben is one of the trigger points that that he can't just sit by and let things happen, that he has to take a stand on certain things. And if you go the easy way, then bad things happen.
Unfortunately, when you accept the role of Uncle Ben in a Spider-Man movie, you better make your money fast.
Exactly, yeah. I'm trying to think. I think they happen the same way, right? It's just, oh no. So the original one is the guy, he robs the wrestling match, and then he doesn't stop him, and then he kills his Uncle Ben outside. Yeah. The remake is
it's a convenience store.
Yeah.
I like the idea that he's racked with his guilt of I could have stepped in to help.
Yeah.
Especially in the first one, where that's one of the big things that Uncle Ben tries to teach Peter.
Yeah.
Don't fight just to fight. Fight, for what's right and fight for a cause.
Right.
And there was a good chance to do it. He didn't do it, and ironically, it got Uncle Ben killed.
Yeah.
But I like that element of, in both cases, Peter Parker could have stopped it.
Right.
And probably should have stopped it.
Yeah.
If we're being honest. But didn't, and then he paid the price.
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, as for wrestling match versus convenience store, it's, I don't know.
Am I reaching?
I mean, could have been a dice game, cockfight. I mean, just whatever.
Round 7. So John Jameson is the publisher for the paper. In the original, he's played by J.K. Simmons. In the remake, they don't have him. Do you think he has to be a part of this story, or do you think that it's okay if he's not in this movie?
You're looking at this from a purely comic book point of view, and I think that's what's going to draw. That's what we're going to argue here, basically.
Yeah.
True to the comic book, not true to the comic book is what's the referendum here.
Yeah, kind of a little bit.
It's it's tough to argue against J.K. Simmons being in anything, because J.K. Simmons is incredible. I like J.K. Simmons a lot.
Yeah.
That having been said, I didn't need him.
Okay.
In the original, I felt like that character was a little over the top.
Mm-hmm.
I think J.K. Simmons is best when he's understated in films. You look at his role in Juno, and the way he's kind of that steadying influence, that rock, that guiding light.
Mm-hmm.
I like him better there than as someone who's brash and big and bold. And, I don't need that at a J.K. Simmons. I like the J.K. Simmons roles that are a little bit more reserved.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go remake on this one.
Okay. I'm going to go original. I think he does have to be there. I think he represents something, and I'm not sure what.
The old guard?
Maybe. I think he... See, but this is the thing. I do think the original is kind of... It's trying to cram a lot of story into that film.
Well, here's the real value of that role as I see it.
Okay.
It gives Peter Parker purpose as a journalist, purpose as a photographer.
Yes.
I mean, because we see him in two different points of life, really. We see Peter Parker in the original as he's just getting out of school and trying to find his way in the world.
Yeah.
And because they come from... I'm not saying they're poor, but they're not rich either.
Right.
So it's not like they're going to fund college.
No.
It's not like... I think you see that a lot more in the big cities. In rural areas, there are a lot of cheaper, more affordable college options. You can try for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I don't know that people gravitate toward that in college, in the bigger cities.
Yeah.
You just go to work and do something, and then all of a sudden, you figure it out later.
Right.
We see Peter Parker just looking for a job.
Yeah.
And that's why the J.K. Simmons role, he has to. That's the guy that becomes his boss. He has to make his way in life.
Yeah.
Or the Andrew Garfield character, we just don't see him doing that.
Well, because he's not a photographer.
Also true, but we don't see that side of him. We don't see that. Okay, I'm a new graduate, and here I am.
Yeah.
But that having been said, I for what they play in each film, I think you need the J.K. Simmons character in the original.
Yeah.
Based on how the remake goes, you don't need him.
Okay, so how about this? How about the J.K. Simmons character is kind of like the Captain Stacy character in the remake, that they both don't trust Spider-Man. They think that he's bad for the city. So maybe that's a better comparison. If you had to compare those two, then who do you go with?
If I have to compare those two, I'm going to go against Dennis Leary every single time.
Okay.
Actually, he's not bad in this film.
He's fine, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But J.K. Simmons, because like I said, that gives more purpose to the the Peter Parker character.
Yeah.
And, again, that's just too much of a coincidence for me.
Yeah.
That Gwen Stacy's father is the same guy as...
Right.
That Gwen Stacy works for this company that is running all this stuff.
Right.
and her father is a police chief. That's just
she's very integral to the city.
She's like, no.
I feel like she'd be on some magazine somewhere as the top like influential people, because I mean, you're
30
right,
under 30.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah,
it is awfully convenient that all that stuff's happening to her. So, yeah.
So how do you want me to score that? Do you want me to score Jameson versus no Jameson, or
it doesn't matter.
Simmons versus Leary? Right.
It doesn't matter. However you want to score it.
It's like whose line is it anyway?
Yeah.
Points don't matter.
We'll take another short break. I'm right back with more Battle Remake.
I'm his probation officer.
Don't forget Aunt May. He does forget Aunt May.
Okay.
This scene hurts me to watch, but I think it's important.
Character is my uncle. He's a pathological liar. He thought you were someone else.
Man, you don't have me on your computer.
Yeah, I mean, like I took a photo of the debate team, and you're in the debate team, so.
Right.
So he must have seen. I was touching up stuff.
What, 220-something trying to be 17?
I'm not gonna answer that.
Listen to the words they're saying.
Did you get expelled?
No, I didn't get expelled. I got community service. So you want to? I don't know.
Want what?
I don't know. Just I don't know. We could.
He's trying to ask her out.
We could do something else, or we could.
But he hasn't thought this through.
We could.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, either one.
Really?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Good. Sounds good. Okay.
This is the worst asking someone out of her scene.
I can't right now.
Yeah, this is supposed to have some kind of like emotional weight to it.
There's no way anybody.
They haven't said anything.
There's no way anybody that looks like Andrew Garfield would have that much trouble asking out someone that looks like Emma Stone.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Cue the music.
Unlock the door. I never felt this way before.
A little on the nose there, that song, huh? So that was Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone in the remake version of Spider-Man called The Amazing Spider-Man, which came out in 2012. For round 8...
Round 8.
We're going to talk love interest. Did you prefer Kirsten Dunst as Mary Jane Watson or Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy?
You know, I feel like this is the toughest call of the whole show on this episode. I think Emma Stone overacts. I don't mean that in a bad way. She acts beyond what she's written for. This is not a well-written character, I don't think. And anything that is good about this character is her.
Right.
The depth of compassion she shows.
It's the charisma that she brings to the character.
Right. Just the depth of compassion she shows, when he's injured, and when she knows that she's the only one carrying the secret.
Right.
I really get that. By the way, it's an incredibly hot scene when he spins the web and brings her in like that. So he gets the girl, and he reveals he's Spider-Man in one fell swoop.
Right.
It's pretty sexy. Then later in the film, spoiler, Dennis Leary's character dies.
Yeah.
Her father.
Yeah.
And his last promise his last request is that, Andrew Garfield not involve his daughter in this. And so he tries to distance himself from her.
Yeah.
And you really feel for her. She's like, my dad died.
Yeah.
Because for all she knows, he hasn't heard. And she's like, everyone was there. You weren't there.
Right.
And that's a heartbreaking scene because you have to, you have to just think of what she's been through and then think of how hard it must have been for him to stay away and why he stayed away.
Yeah, but then she solves it right away. She says, my dad told you not to come there, or something like that, didn't he? And then it seems like it takes away the weight that was just that emotional beat because she's already solved it.
The scene at school takes away the weight from me.
Yeah.
Because, when it's the very last line of the film, talk about like promises you can't keep, and he says that's the best kind.
Those are the best kind.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
And she has this wry smile, like, you know.
Yeah. That
like she knows he's still interested, but
he's not going to be back for another film.
I'll just be like,
yeah,
she's grieving.
So wait, are you going with the original or?
No, I'm going with the original here.
Okay. Sorry, you haven't got to that point yet.
But no, I hadn't. Because I didn't want to go with the original without first pointing out what I liked about Emma Stone.
Okay, cool.
I think she's terrific in this role. Mm-hmm. I really do. It's a poorly written character.
Yeah.
And that's not her fault.
Right.
I think she goes above and beyond to make this as watchable as it is.
Yeah.
What I like about Kirsten Dunst is I like the evolution here.
Okay.
You ever see those articles about, like, the three girls, the three guys that all girls date?
Yeah.
Kirsten Dunst manages to date them all in one film. She goes from the meat-headed jock to the successful, smart guy that you should date and you should like, you're supposed to like, to the nice, good guy that maybe doesn't have money, maybe doesn't have power or influence, but boy is just a really good man.
Yeah.
And is going to be a really good man.
Yeah.
And he doesn't really do a lot to win her over. You know, he really doesn't. But she realizes that he's just there.
Yeah.
And in just being there, that's enough. This is someone that I like her backstory better than Emma Stone's.
Yeah.
I like that she's someone that's kind of come from a rough upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel for that. Because, again, the Emma Stone character, I mean, I likewise, I feel the line where she says, every day I have to worry about, of my entire life, I worry about if my dad's going to be home when I'm, when I'm there. So I get that from a cop's daughter, but for her background, that she really feels like she's got to strike out and make it on her own. Mm-hmm. There's a sense in all the characters in the 2002 movie that they really do have to make it on their own, or at least the two leads, Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst. You don't get that out of the James Franco, silver spoon coming out of his mouth.
Right.
But because of the evolution, I like Kirsten Dunst better in this film.
Okay. I'm going to agree with you.
Original.
Probably not for the same reasons.
But I don't like Dunst as an actress. I just don't like her in anything.
Well, she's not my favorite actress.
Yeah.
But I feel like she works in this movie.
I don't know. I don't think she works in this movie, but my problem is that I'm not sure what her motivation is. I don't know exactly. Like, she seems to be like she wants Spider-Man the whole time, and then she just like settles for Peter Parker. I'm not really sure. It's kind of confusing to me.
I think like a lot of girls of that age, they don't know really what they want, and they're still trying to figure that out.
Yeah,
honestly, and I don't mean that in a critical way. I should probably rephrase. A lot of adults don't know what they want.
Yeah, for sure.
At that point of their life. I think she figures it out, though.
Yeah.
I think the look that she has at the end, she kind of has a gasp.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a knowing gasp at the end. And we'll get to the end of the film here in a second. Mm-hmm. But I don't know that's so much settling. I think she sees the attributes in Peter Parker the same way that's just a Spider-Man, of someone that's there for her.
Mm-hmm.
And,
yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
She doesn't know if Spider-Man will always be there because Spider-Man's Spider-Man. He's an unknown entity.
Yeah.
But she knows Peter Parker will always be there.
Maybe. Yeah. Let's go on to 9.
And then she figures out it's one and the same.
Right. How convenient.
Yeah, right? Which Flash Thompson do you like better in round 9? Joe Manganiello from the original or Chris Zylka from the remake?
I'm going to go Zylka. I like the trajectory that character had. So he was a bully at first. And then he kind of gets, he gets shown up a little bit by Andrew Garfield, and then after he hears that his uncle died, then he tries to make peace with him in his own little way.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
Remake.
I don't really get the reasons why Flash Thompson had to be such a meathead in the original. It just doesn't make sense to me.
He's just a meathead in the school. It's just
knucklehead.
Yeah.
Knucklehead, meathead, whatever you want to fill in.
Yeah.
I also too like that he felt the need to make peace because I think that's a common theme. I feel like with young people is that arguments and beefs, if you would, that seem big at the time, when real life steps in, you realize, wait a minute, this is stupid,
right?
And let's just we all have bigger things to worry about.
Yeah.
So I like that as well.
Cool. Round 10. The ending. Do you prefer the ending of 2002 or the ending of 2012?
There are aspects of the ending of 2012 that really seem tacked on, and that bothers me. It's the tacked on stuff that ruins both films. And because I feel like the stuff at the end of 2002 is less tacked on, a little bit more necessary, I'm going to go 2002 here.
Okay.
Original.
What I mean by tacked on is the entire Gwen Stacy, Peter Parker stuff after her father dies, and then the way that the weight of the line is almost the weight of what he's done is almost taken away, like you said, by the fact she figures that out immediately after seeing him, and then the line at the school.
Yeah.
I feel like that takes some of the emotional weight away. Whereas at the end of 2002, what bothers me is that here's Peter Parker, who isn't prompted in any way to stay away from Mary Jane, finally has her fall into his lap through doing nothing.
Right.
It's the nerd's dream scenario that the girl of your dreams will fall into your lap just by realizing that you're the greatest guy ever.
Right.
Which never happens. Ever. And so she does. She is the one who exposes her love for him before he really declares any love for her.
Right.
But then he shoots her down. And she just has this horrified, oh my God look on her face, which you really feel for her.
Right.
But then as he's walking away from the cemetery, I think he says a line, like he has a greater duty. She figures it out. It clicks. That I feel like is more necessary of an ending than knowing that Gwen Stacy's going to get back with Peter Parker at any point. I don't need that as much for Gwen Stacy.
Yeah.
And maybe that's me projecting Emma Stone's characteristics onto it, but I need that more for Mary Jane because, boy, with Mary Jane, you really wonder who's out there for her.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah.
She doesn't seem like she's a popular type as Gwen Stacy is. Gwen Stacy's the person that could suffer a tragedy, and there's going to be a whole litany of people who line up to be there for her. And I'm not trying to trivialize that.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm not saying that makes it easier to get through the tragedy, but there are people that have an easier time finding support. I'm not sure that Mary Jane Watson is that way. I don't think her circle's very big. We know her family sucks.
Yeah.
We know that she's not really into James Franco's character anymore.
Right.
Because his family sucks too.
Right.
And now Peter Parker, the one person that she feels she can trust, has just rejected her.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That carried some weight for me.
Yeah, and I think it's a little bit like the Batman thing. It's like that.
I mean, I didn't like it. I didn't like that he shot her down.
Yeah, but it's. I think it's the right ending because that character, he's always going to have to take on villains, and he can't. In some aspects, he can't have the luxury of someone to love. Kind of. So I thought it was the right ending.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they're always going to be, connected in some way. So it's going to be like the Tony Stark Pepper Potts. It's always it's always the yin to the yang.
Yeah,
kind of a little bit. So, but I thought it was right. The 2012 one, I thought up to that point I didn't care what happened. So I could have checked out, and I was just like, you know what? And I didn't think it was the right time to kill her dad because I felt like we hadn't got to know him really at all, and they really hadn't shared that much.
I wanted to see.
It wasn't that much of a death to me.
I wanted to see Spider-Man work more with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think
if they had killed him off in a second movie,
that would
have had a lot of weight to it.
Yeah, that would have made a lot more sense.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for round 10. Let's go to a section we call
That's a Wrap.
If you have to recommend either Spider-Man or The Amazing Spider-Man, which do you recommend?
The Amazing Spider-Man is better than I thought it would be. I didn't expect much from it.
Yeah.
It's not often we have a remake of this franchise that's just 10 years away from the original, although I think that's going to be the norm now.
Yeah.
We're going to see new iterations of a lot of these superheroes every 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, this next one is 5 years since that one.
Yeah, that's kind of the world we're living in here. That having been said, I like the original one a lot better.
Okay.
Because the reasons why I said earlier, I think it's just a movie that's a little bit more complete. It's a little bit more more fleshed out. If you're a casual fan of the superhero genre, I think you're going to get more out of that one.
Yeah.
Gritty is a word that gets thrown around too much, and for lack of a better way to say it, the 2012 version is a little grittier.
Yeah.
Just a bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think the 2002 version captures the superhero tone the way it needs to. It's fun. It never lets you forget it's a superhero film. They're supposed to be a little over the top.
Yeah.
It's superheroes. It should be fun. I feel.
What was Macho Man's name?
Right.
What was his name? Like Chainsaw or something? Or
Bonesaw.
Bonesaw. That's what
Bonesaw
it was.
McGraw.
Bonesaw. Oh yeah, Bonesaw.
Yeah.
I love.
Which became a legendary catchphrase at my lunch table senior year.
Oh really?
Oh my goodness! Everyone loved Bonesaw.
That's funny.
But yeah, there are elements of fun in this one that you don't get out of the 2012 one, and I feel like superhero movies ought to be at least a little fun.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like 2012 they tried to reinvent the wheel, and not in a good way.
That's a good way to put it.
Right?
It's a very good way to put it.
And if you need to see Spider-Man and the origin story of Spider-Man as it was in the comics, I think that's the perfect movie for you.
Yeah.
I guess what I hope now, like with Homecoming coming out, is that they don't feel like they have to tell the Uncle Ben story, and they don't have to tell the fact that he was bitten. Everyone understands it. Everyone gets it. Everyone gets that he was bit by that. Everyone understands it. So let's tell something else. Let's actually build the character. Let's focus on the fact that he's a kid. Let's focus. So I hope that's where they're going with this new one because I feel like we've done this. It's done. Let's move on.
Yeah,
So
you're right. You're 100% right.
Yeah. So what's the score?
95-92 in favor of the original.
All right, there you go, original.
This is also the only taping day in the history of the show where I kept score.
No.
Maybe once. I've added the score before. I don't remember ever keeping score.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's not so easy, is it?
No, it really isn't.
That's it for this episode of Battle Remake. If you want to check us out, you can download us on iTunes, on the Stitcher, on SoundCloud. You can follow us on Facebook and on our website. You can see which movies are coming up, so you can check them out early, and then you'll be able to know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
That's kind of the whole key, isn't it?
Well, that's what we hope.
Yeah, for sure. So, my name is Buzz Mead.
I'm Eric Little.
Until next time, have a good time all the time.